You're standing in your own home. You're the one who feeds your dog, walks them, shows up every single day, and then the door opens, and your dog completely loses it for someone else. The tail goes faster, the eyes light up differently. There's a level of excitement you recognize instantly. But it's not for you. Most people try to explain this away. Maybe that person gives more treats. Maybe they bonded earlier. Maybe it's just energy. All of that sounds right. But here's the problem. None of it explains what's actually happening inside your dog's brain in that moment. Because your dog isn't choosing based on love the way you think. They're not keeping score. They're not rewarding effort. They're responding to something far more primitive and far more precise. And behavioral neuroscience tells a completely different story. If you've ever had that quiet moment where you realized you might not be your dog's favorite person, just comment 1 below. So let's start with what you think is happening when your dog picks a favorite. You probably think it's about who gives them the most. More food, more treats, more affection. That feels logical. It even feels fair. But here's where it breaks. Your dog isn't counting what you give. They're tracking how you behave. Specifically, how predictable you are. Because to a dog, safety isn't about comfort. It's about certainty. The person who reacts the same way, most of the time, not perfectly, but consistently, becomes the one their nervous system marks as safe. And safe doesn't mean boring. Safe means something much more powerful. It means your dog can finally stop scanning the environment. Stop second-guessing. Stop preparing for sudden changes. Safe is what allows them to relax, to play, to be fully present. There's also something else happening underneath. You might think affection is the key, but dogs don't bond hardest with whoever pets them the most. They bond with whoever they can read the fastest. Your tone, your movements, your emotional shifts. Your dog is constantly decoding you, and the person they understand most easily becomes the one they choose. In 2015, a team at the University of Veterinary Medicine in Vienna set up a simple experiment. They brought dogs into a room they had never seen before, placed a problem in front of them, puzzle toys with food inside. Nothing too complex, just enough to require effort. Then they changed one variable: who was sitting in the room. In one condition, the owner sat quietly in a chair. No talking, no helping, just there. In another, the owner left. A friendly stranger took the same seat, did the same nothing. Here's what happened. When the owner was present, dogs worked longer. They tried more strategies. They stayed engaged even when it got difficult. But when the owner left, they slowed down, lost interest faster, gave up sooner. The stranger wasn't threatening. The dogs didn't avoid them. They just couldn't use them. And that's the key. Researchers call this the secure base effect, borrowed from human psychology. Your dog's favorite person isn't just someone they like. It's the one whose presence changes their entire nervous system, from cautious to curious. But here's where it gets really interesting, because this bond isn't just behavioral, it's chemical. In 2015, researchers at AZABU University in Japan ran a study that sounds almost too simple to matter. They put dogs and their owners in a room for 30 minutes. No tasks, no commands. Just interaction, talking, petting, existing together. Before and after, they measured oxytocin levels, the same hormone responsible for bonding between a mother and her newborn. And what they found changed everything. Dogs who spent more time looking into their owner's eyes showed significantly higher oxytocin levels afterward. But it didn't stop there. The owner's oxytocin increased too. The dog's gaze triggered the human. The human's response triggered the dog. A loop, running both directions, getting stronger every time it happened. And here's the part most people don't know. They ran the same test with wolves raised by humans. Same environment, same interaction. Nothing happened. No sustained eye contact. No oxytocin loop. This mechanism doesn't exist in wolves, which means your dog didn't just learn to bond with you. They evolved to. Which brings us back to Gregory Burns. After Newton died, the question didn't leave him. So he did something no one had done before. He trained dogs to lie completely still inside an FMRI scanner. Awake, unrestrained, fully conscious. So he could watch their brains in real time. By 2016, his team ran the experiment that finally answered it. They trained 13 dogs to associate one object with food. and another with praise from their owner. Then they scanned their brains. What lit up was the caudate nucleus, the part responsible for anticipating something good. And in most dogs, it responded just as strongly, sometimes even more strongly, to praise than to food. But Burns didn't stop there. He gave them a choice. A simply maze. Food down one path, their person down the other. 20 trials. Most dogs chose their person. And here's the part that matters. The brain scans predicted it perfectly. Dogs who valued praise more chose the human more. Not emotion, not guesswork, decision-making visible in the brain. Okay, I want to talk directly to some of you now, because I know exactly why you clicked on this. You do everything. You're the one who shows up, and your dog still chooses someone else first. That part stings more than people admit. But here's what the research actually shows. The dog's favorite person isn't always the one who does the most. It's the one whose nervous system feels the easiest to match. A nervous dog will gravitate toward the calmest presence in the room. An anxious dog will attach to whoever is the most predictable. Not the most loving. Not the most dedicated. The most readable. And timing matters more than you think. If your dog formed that bond during their early months, when their brain was wiring its entire social map, that connection runs deep. But here's the part most people get wrong. This isn't fixed. Dogs can shift their primary attachment. Not through big gestures. Not through trying harder. But through something much quieter. Consistency. You're not losing a competition. You're building a signal your dog's brain can finally trust. And this is the part Gregory Burns spent a decade trying to answer. 15 years with Newton. The routines. The quiet moments. The way his dog leaned into him without thinking. And when it was over, the question that stayed wasn't, did I do enough? It was simpler and heavier. Did he know me? Did any of it matter? It took brain scans. Over 100 dogs. Years of data from labs around the world. But the answer is now clear. Yes, your dog knows you. Not your name. Not your role. Your scent. Your rhythm. Your nervous system. The caudate data. The oxytocin loop. The secure base effect. All pointing to the same thing. This isn't imagined. This isn't projection. That's not poetry. That's data. So the next time your dog chooses someone, or quietly comes back to you when it matters most, that's not randomness. That's not habit. That's a nervous system recognizing home. If this changed the way you see your dog, subscribe and tell me in the comments what was the moment you realized who your dog had chosen.